science has 50 years, only 50 years.
Wow, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very, very young science, very young. But we have to. There are a lot of data now with space exploration, with discovery of exoplanets, with the science on origin of life too. So this scientific field, has given us a lot of data. About what could be life in the universe, what is life on Earth, and also what could be life on other planets. You see the huge difference between nowadays and my pioneers of the end of the 19th century. And they were dreaming about life on other planets in the solar system. But now we know that we have no life, maybe some microfossils somewhere, we don't know, but no advanced life in the solar system. But this is possible for other planets, of course, outside the solar system and far away.
How were people observing space then? And it's changed a lot from then to now. But what were people able to detect? They weren't able to see the atmosphere, or they weren't able to see the surface of Mars, really. Were they just kind of looking with telescopes?
Yes. They were looking with telescopes in observatories. I can mention perhaps Flammarion, French astronomer at the observatory of Juvisy. He has founded and he was the director of this observatory, and he made a lot of observations to try to see the surface of Mars. And he is a very famous astronomer at the end of the 19th century. Radio waves were detectable before, but with SETI, it's only since 1959, 1960, with the first experiment with Frank Drake. We can do experiment with radio waves. In fact, at the end of the 19th century, it was not possible. We are at the time where communication is so easy. So if something is known, I'm not sure. Myself, I'm not sure that it will be respected. It will,
So there are strong suggestions.
Yes. In fact. Well, you see, communication is so easy now.
Yes.
With computer, with many things, it spreads so easily that I'm not sure that it's possible to respect very strictly the rules that have been established. In fact,
but the discussion has been to make a strong set of suggestions about making sure that people know what they're getting.
Yes, and making sure that it's a real signal, extraterrestrial signal coming from another civilization. Because you can have many extraterrestrial signals that look like coming from other civilization, but in fact, no.
What do you think it says about people in general? That we keep looking for life and not finding it. And we keep thinking that maybe we've found other life, even when really we've found something else just as interesting.
Yes, but this science, as I said before, is very, very, very young. So it's not very surprising if we didn't find life up to now. It's not surprising because it's a very young science with the scientific method. I am working on the pioneer of the 19th century, and at that time, it was not really scientific when they were looking at life elsewhere. In fact, I think it was not really scientific methods. Because they had no the good tools to seek to look for life elsewhere. In fact, nowadays we have more tools. It's clear, but our science, astrobiology, is young. Yeah. Yes, it's perhaps we need time to find life elsewhere. It's what I mean. So now we see that there are many exoplanets that we can have spacecraft which are exploring, make exploration of our solar system. But things are going quickly, yes. But finding life in another planet, it is really large questions, difficult one. So I think that it could take several decades, well, even more, to finally find something. Yes. So I understand that everyone is very well. We would like to find life very quickly, but no, it's not possible. Yes, we have to see. In fact, even at a distance, if some planets are really interesting for looking at life on them, with the biosignatures or things like that, we have a lot of work to do. We know nothing about what could be this planet able to send message. We know nothing. So it's like a message in a bottle. Us, when we send a message like Pioneer, Voyager, and so on, and message in a bottle, perhaps for another civilization, except if this civilization has already detected us. If this civilization knows that we are there, but it's another question. So we are a strange science. It's my point of view. Yes. It's fascinating. It's amazing. It's very, very, very interesting. But it's a very difficult science because it's not a usual one. We have no data. We don't know. We know nothing about life elsewhere. We know nothing. In fact, we only know our life on Earth.
More on what we know and what we don't know after the break. Welcome back. We've been discussing what could realistically happen if we began receiving transmissions from aliens and what we're actually capable of right now. While it might seem like each question we ask takes us further away from Earth, looking to space brings us closer to the most urgent questions about our own humanity. There's a social science aspect to all of our technical questions. In speculating about what we would need to sustain long-term intergalactic travel, we uncover questions that bring us closer to home. How would humans be able to survive and thrive in deep space? Who gets to be involved in deciphering the signals and crafting a response? How would we represent ourselves and our species to an unknown civilization? We spoke to Jerome Barkow, an evolutionary anthropologist and social scientist, who reminds us that thinking about space exploration is a really good way to learn more about humans. What is interesting to me is that there is a social science element to these very technical questions. For example, how do we organize listening to signals from another civilization? There's the technical way of interpreting those, but then there's also who needs to be in that room and what type of expertise would you like to be in that room as someone who's spent your professional life studying how many kinds of civilizations are set up?
Well, I'm taking a look at the news. I'm taking a look at current state of international relationships and also the history of, efforts at space travel. Mm-hmm. The best thing there, the thing that really produced space travel originally, including the moon landing, was international competition. Therefore, I would expect countries to pay lip service to, let's have the UN in charge, etc. And I would also expect that to break down into bickering. I think that the real beat is going to happen when it becomes a campaign issue and a president of the US challenges Chinese supremacy in listening to and efforts to communicate with inhabitants of exoplanets. I can see where India and China get into rivalry there. What I would like to do is to foment rivalry. And once there are multiple nations trying to do this simultaneously, all in the pursuit of what the French call glory, honor, etc., each of these nations perhaps will have a slightly different take on the technical expertise and a different mixture, a different mix of technical experts. And that's fine. That would be the very best thing. The worst thing would be, we all agree that this should happen, and now we'll bicker about how much money each country contributes to it and how the details work. The space station was a wonderful idea, except in the middle of it, the U.S. gave up on the space shuttle without having replaced it. The Russians decided to gouge the U.S. and had a lot of fun making fun of the U.S. that it can't get up to its own space station. There's still some useful work coming out of it, and I'm grateful for that. But that's as much a fluke that it even continued as anything else. I wouldn't want to risk that same kind of thing happening with the effort to listen to extraterrestrial intelligences.
So you're saying, in your experience studying civilizations or culture, that the far more reliable method to produce results is to put your energy into creating rivalry?
Well, I wouldn't want it known that I was out deliberately to create rivalry. Just realistically, I know our species. I know the way international relations work. And yes, rivalry is the best way to get technical progress, and this has been shown again and again. I hate to say anything good about war, but as a matter of fact, so much of our technical knowledge and ability has come out of wars. It's really important for us to decide whether this is a sexual selection species, a species that has a sense of beauty in elaboration, and therefore is trying to make its transmissions attractive, beautiful, showing their prowess, or a species that is utterly, purely functional. And the way we approach the problem would in part be affected by whether, there's a lot here that seems to be totally unnecessary to make this point, as opposed to every sound, every photon sent is probably crucial. So we should try to make that decision, or perhaps have one team take one perspective and another team take another perspective and see which one works.
So you would say that our tendency as a species to elaborate on or put detail into things is a result of us having differentiation between the sexes?
Ultimately, in terms of evolutionary biology, it's a fact that we have two sexes, and there's a quite broad consensus among those who have thought all about it that much of human psychology reflects sexual selection, having to do with the fact that human beings compete to be selected by the other sex and to be the ones doing the selection.